Imagine the sun beating down on a dusty plain in ancient Mesopotamia, the air thick with the metallic tang of blood and the acrid stench of sweat-soaked leather. You're standing there, shoulder to shoulder with Macedonian warriors, your heart pounding like a war drum. And then, in a single horrifying instant, a Persian chariot thunders toward you, its side wheels spinning like death's own grinders, slicing through flesh and bone with a sickening crunch. Men scream as limbs are sheared clean off, blood spraying in crimson arcs across the sand. But here's the impossible question that will haunt you. How did Alexander the Great, with just 40,000 exhausted men, crush an army of 250,000 Persians in under 3 hours? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear isn't just history. It's a visceral nightmare of genius, betrayal, and slaughter that changed the world forever. All right, let's dive in deeper. Before we get to the blood-soaked fields of Gaugamela, I need to tease you with 5 insane moments that are coming up. Moments so wild, they'll keep you glued to your screen. First, picture this. Alexander's own generals begging him to abandon the fight, convinced they're marching straight into a Persian meat grinder. But he ignores them, unveiling a plan so audacious it borders on madness. Second, the moment when Darius, the King of Kings, unleashes a secret weapon. Chariots with blades that turn the battlefield into a slaughterhouse, and you'll feel the terror as they charge. Third, the heart-stopping betrayal from within Alexander's ranks, a whisper of mutiny that could have ended everything. Fourth, the miracle twist where a forgotten Macedonian trick turns certain defeat into a bloodbath for the Persians. Wait till you hear how a simple feint becomes a cascade of carnage. And fifth, the brutal aftermath, where history had the real cost. Thousands left to rot under the stars, and the dark secrets of what Alexander did next that textbooks won't tell you. These aren't just stories. They're open wounds in time, and by the end, you'll be addicted to chaos. But to understand how it all exploded, we have to go back to the underdog setup, where despair wasn't just a feeling, it was a guarantee. Act 1, the underdog setup and stakes. Let's set the scene, because if you think you've heard this before, you haven't felt it like this. It's 331 BC, and Alexander the Great, this 25-year-old Macedonian king who's already conquered half the known world, is staring down the barrel of oblivion. His army? A ragtag force of about 40,000 men, hardened by years of marching through mountains and deserts, but now they're bone-tired. Their sandals worn to shreds, shields dented from 100 skirmishes. These aren't superheroes. They're farmers, shepherds, and mercenaries from the rugged hills of Macedonia, men who've left their families behind for a dream of glory that feels increasingly like a delusion. The air in their camp reeks of unwashed bodies and flickering campfires, the kind of smell that clings to your nostrils and reminds you death is near. On the other side, Darius III, the Persian emperor, the so-called King of Kings, commanding an empire that stretches from the Mediterranean to India. His army, a staggering 250,000 strong, according to ancient sources like Arrian and Diodorus. Though some modern historians debate the numbers, the terror was real. Imagine wave after wave of infantry, cavalry from every corner of the empire, armored cataphract from the east, swift horsemen from the steppes, and elite immortals clad in glittering scale armor that catches the sun like dragon scales. Their gut were elephants rumbling in the rear, their trumpets echoing like thunder and chariots. Oh, those deadly chariots, with blades protruding from the wheels, designed to mow down lines like a reaper through wheat. The Persian camp is a sea of tents, opulent with silk and gold. The air scented with spices and incense, a stark contrast to the Macedonians' grim austerity. But the stakes? They're apocalyptic. For Alexander, defeat means the end of his dream, his men slaughtered or enslaved, his legacy as a footnote in Persian chronicles. He's deep in enemy territory, thousands of miles from home, supply lines stretched thin like a bowstring about to snap. Lose here, and Greece falls back under Persian yoke. Cities burned, women and children dragged into chains. You can taste the fear in the Macedonian ranks. That bitter, metallic tang on your tongue as soldiers whisper about omens, like the eclipse of the moon that darkened the sky just days before, interpreted by some as a sign of doom. One real human story from the Macedonian side. Take Philotas, son of Parmenion, Alexander's trusted general. Philotas wasn't just a commander. He was a man haunted by his father's shadow, a veteran who'd fought beside Philip II, Alexander's father. In the nights before Gaugamela, Philotas confided his aides, as recorded in Plutarch, that he dreamed of rivers of blood, his own sword slipping from blood-slick hands. He wasn't alone. Morale was crumbling, men deserting under cover of night, their footsteps muffled by the desert wind. From the Persian side, let's humanize Darius. He wasn't some cartoon villain. He was a ruler who'd inherited a crumbling empire, plagued by rebellions and court intrigues. One story, Bessus, a satrap and cousin of Darius, who commanded the left wing. Bessus was ambitious, his eyes always on the throne, but in the lead-up, he rallied his Bactrian cavalry with tales of Persian glory, promising them riches beyond imagination if they crushed the upstart Greek. Yet, deep down, Bessus feared Darius's weakness. The king had already fled once at Issus, leaving his family behind. The stakes for Persia? Lose, and the empire fractures, satraps like Bessus carving out their own kingdoms, the Achaemenid dynasty extinguished in a blaze of Macedonian fire. The audience, you, should feel the despair. Alexander's men outnumbered 6-1, terrain flattened by Persians to favor their chariots, no escape routes. It's hopeless. You think, how could they possibly win? That's the point. Despair grips you like a vice, making every breath heavy with dread. But hold on, because as the sun sets on the eve of battle, Alexander isn't just fighting Darius. He's battling his own demons. And that's where we shift to Act 2, the leader's personal torture and dark past. Alexander wasn't born a god. He was forged in fire, and his past is a labyrinth of pain that humanizes him, makes you root for him even as you question his sanity. Picture Alexander in his tent, the flickering lamplight casting shadows on his face, highlighting the scar across his cheek from a previous wound. He's not the invincible conqueror of legend. He's a man tortured by doubt. His dark past starts with his father, Philip II, a brutal king who molded Macedonia into a powerhouse but treated Alexander like a tool. Philip's assassination in 336 BC. Some whisper Alexander had a hand in it, though evidence is scant, left a void, a gnawing insecurity. Alexander's mother, Olympias, a fierce Epirote princess, filled his head with tales of divine birth, claiming he was sired by Zeus, not Philip. But that god complex came at a cost: isolation, paranoia. By Gaugamela, Alexander had already lost friends. Clitus the Black, who'd saved his life at Granicus, but their bond was fraying under the weight of endless war. The personal torture? Sleepless nights. Ancient accounts from Curtius Rufus describe Alexander pacing his tent, maps unrolled before him, his fingers tracing lines in the dust. He hadn't slept in days, his eyes bloodshot, body racked by fever from old wounds, a thigh gash from Issus that still wept pus, the smell of infection faint but constant. He confided in Hephaestion, his closest companion, perhaps lover, as some historians suggest, about nightmares where he saw his army evaporating like mist. "What if I'm leading them to slaughter?" he whispered, voice cracking. Hephaestion, a noble from Pella, shared his own story. As a boy, he watched his father die in battle against Illyrians, the sound of arrows whistling still echoing in his dreams. He urged Alexander on, but the king's doubt was visceral, a knot in his gut that twisted tighter with each scout report of Persian numbers. From the Persian perspective, Darius's torture mirrored it. He'd lost at Issus 2 years prior, fleeing the field while his mother, wife, and daughters were captured by Alexander, who treated them honorably, but the shame burned. Darius's dark past, ascending the throne after assassinations, he was seen as a usurper by some. One human story. His wife, Statira, beautiful and regal, sent letters begging him to avenge her honor, but Darius wept in private, the taste of failure like ash in his mouth. Mazias, his right-wing commander, a seasoned general who'd governed Babylon, shared drinks with Darius the night before, recounting his own losses. A son killed in a border skirmish, body never recovered. "We fight for empire," Mazias said, but his voice trembled with personal vendetta against the Greeks who'd sacked his homeland. Alexander's torture peaked when his generals, Parmenion chief among them, confronted him. Parmenion, grizzled and loyal, fathered Philotas, pleaded for a night attack to even the odds. Alexander refused, snapping, I will not steal victory like a thief. But inside, rejection stung. It echoed his father's dismissals. This humanizes him. Not a demigod, but a young man carrying the weight of worlds, his ambition a double-edged sword that cut him deepest. You think that's dark? Wait, because what comes next is a plan that nobody believed. A scheme so insane it could only come from a mind teetering on genius or madness. But before we unveil it, let's pause for a breath. Imagine the tension building, the eve of battle hanging like a storm cloud. And just when you think Alexander might crack, he doesn't. Act 3 is coming, and it's going to blow your mind. Act 3, the insane plan nobody believed. Dawn breaks over the plains of Gaugamela, October 1st, 331 BC. The Macedonian army assembles in the chill morning air, breath fogging like ghosts. Alexander rides Bucephalus, his black stallion, the horse's flanks heaving with anticipation. His men form up in the phalanx, 16 ranks deep, sarissas, those 18-foot spears, bristling like a porcupine's quills. But the plan? It's not the standard clash. It's a masterpiece of deception. Alexander knew the Persians expected a frontal assault. Darius positioned in the center with his immortals. Chariots ready to charge the flat ground he'd leveled himself. So Alexander devises the oblique order. A slanted line, his right wing advanced, left refused. He'll feint right, draw the Persian left out, create a gap in their center, then hammer through with his companion cavalry straight at Darius. Sounds simple? It wasn't. His generals balked. Parmenion argued with suicide. The left will be overwhelmed. Philotas echoed, face pale, remembering his dreams. Even Hephaestion hesitated. The plan relied on perfect timing, one mistake meaning annihilation. But Alexander believed. He addressed his troops, voice booming. We are the descendants of Heracles. They outnumber us, but we outfight them. The men cheered, but doubt lingered, a sour taste in their mouths. From the Persian side, Darius scoffed at scouts' reports of the odd formation. His plan was to envelop, use superior numbers to crush. Bessus on the left, Mazias on the right, both confident. One story. A Persian archer named Ariobarzanes, a young recruit from Susa, sharpened his arrows, telling his comrades about his pregnant wife back home. This ends the Greek pest today, he said, but nervousness made his hands shake. The plan's insanity? It hinged on Alexander personally leading the charge, risking everything. Nobody believed it would work, except him. And as the armies close, the air thick with dust and tension, you feel the stakes skyrocket. Will unravel? Hang on, because Act 4 brings first blood and a flicker of hope. But what if I told you that just as the battle ignites, something unimaginable happens, a moment that makes even the gods hold their breath? Stay tuned. The carnage is just beginning. Act 4, first blood and hope. The horns blare, a deep, resonant wail that vibrates through your chest like the earth's own groan. Macedonian phalangites lock shields, their bronze helmets gleaming under the rising sun. The smell of oiled leather and fierce sweat mixing in the air. Across the field, the Persian horde advances, a multicolored wave of humanity, banners fluttering like wounded birds, the ground trembling under 250,000 feet. First contact hits like a thunderclap. Alexander's right wing, led by himself and companions, surges forward in the oblique slant. Persian skirmishers loose arrows, shafts whistling through the air, thudding into shields with the sound of hail on tin. A Macedonian named Cleon, a real figure from the ranks, mentioned in minor chronicles, takes one in the shoulder, the barbed head tearing flesh with a wet rib. He grunts, snaps a shaft, and keeps marching, blood soaking his tunic, the coppery scent fueling his rage. Hope sparks as the phalanx holds, sarissas impaling the first wave of Persians, screams piercing the din like shattered glass. Darius unleashes his chariots. 200 of them, blades whirring, horses foaming at the mouth. They barrel toward the Macedonian center, drivers whipping the beasts, the taste of dust bitter on their tongues. Imagine you're there. The ground shakes, wheels churn sand into clouds, and then, crunch, the blades hit. Limbs fly, men bisected, guts spilling in steaming piles. But Alexander's plan kicks in. His troops part like the Red Sea, light infantry hurling javelins at the horses, beasts shrieking as they crumple, chariots flipping in spectacular crashes. With splinters, bones snap with sharp cracks, blood painting the earth red. Hope surges. Alexander's feint works. The Persian left under Bessus extends the counter, creating that gap. The companions charge, lances lowered, thundering toward the center. A Persian noble, Orontes, commanding a squadron, sees it coming. Orontes, a veteran of Issus, had lost brothers there. Now, he rallies his men, sword raised, voice hoarse. For the king! But the Macedonians smash in, spears punching through armor, the clang of metal on metal deafening. Blood sprays, warm and sticky, coating faces. For a moment, it feels like victory is within grasp. The Persians waver, Darius's face paling under his tiara. One human story from the Persian side. A chariot driver named Mithridates, a simple farmer conscripted from Media. As his vehicle hurtles forward, he thinks of his daughter, her laughter like bells. But a Macedonian javelin pierces his thigh, pain exploding like fire, and his chariot veers, blades missing their mark. He tumbles, sand grinding into wounds, the world spinning as hope for the Persians dims. From the Macedonians, Ariston, a high Paspis elite, shields Alexander himself. Ariston had joined for glory but found brotherhood. Now he parries a Persian axe, the impact jarring his arms, sweat stinging his eyes. Push, he yells, and they do, carving a path. First blood brings hope. The impossible seems possible. You feel it, that dopamine rush, the emotional investment hooking you deeper. But you think it can't get worse? Wait, because just as hope flickers, Act 5 plunges us into total disaster. The lowest point where everything unravels. Attention reset. Imagine the screams turning from triumph to terror, the smell of victory souring into despair. What happened next made even hardened warriors question their king. Act 5, total disaster. The battle teeters, but then catastrophe. Parmenions' left wing, the refused flank, buckles under Mazias' assault. Persian cavalry, tens of thousands, swarm like locusts, their lances gleaming, horses' hooves pounding the earth into mud. The Macedonian line cracks, men falling back, shields splintering under the onslaught. The sound is apocalyptic. Clashing steel, agonized yells, the wet thud of bodies hitting ground. Parmenion, ever the steadfast general, fights like a lion. His horse rears, he slashes at foes, but numbers overwhelm. Philotas, his son, charges in, sword dripping gore, but takes a spear to the side, gasping as blood fills his lung, the taste metallic and choking. "Father!" he cries, but Parmenion can't reach him. The line is breaking. Scouts raced Alexander. The left collapses. We're flanked. Disaster looms. If the left folds, the Persians envelop, trapping the entire army. Alexander hesitates, mid-charge toward Darius. He glances back, heart sinking. The plan's fragility exposed. His advance left the left vulnerable. Men die in droves. The air thick with the stench of voided bowels and open bellies. A Macedonian phalangite, nameless in history but real in the moment, clutches his gut wound, intestines slipping through fingers, screaming for his mother as Persians trample him. From a Persian view, this is their high. Darius signals reinforcements, his voice triumphant. Bessus presses harder, his Bactrians cutting deep. One story, a Persian infantryman named Datis, from Persepolis, advances with shield high. He'd lost his farm to taxes for this war. Now, vengeance fuels him. He stabs a fallen Macedonian, feeling the give of flesh, but horror mixes with elation as friends fall beside him. The lowest point, Alexander's dream shatters. Mutters a mutiny ripple. He's abandoned us. The king, face ashen, realizes. Continue Darius or save the left. Despair crashes like a wave, the taste of defeat bitter. You feel it, the emotional gut punch, curiosity gaping. How could he recover? False ending one. And just like that, it seems over. The Macedonians rout. Persians closing in for the kill. Alexander's legend dies here. Or does it? No. Hold on, because Act 6 brings a miracle twist. The forgotten trick, that flips the script. But before we reveal it, picture the chaos peaking, blood soaking the sand into crimson mud. What Alexander does next, it's pure genius, hidden in plain sight. Act 6, the miracle twist/forgotten trick. In the heart of disaster, Alexander remembers a forgotten trick, a maneuver drilled into his men since Philip's days, the wedge formation. He wheels the companions, not to retreat, but to exploit the gap wider. "With me," he bellows, voice cutting through the roar. The elite cavalry forms a flying wedge, points aim at Darius' center. The twist. As Bessus overextends, Alexander charges through the breach, straight at the king. Persian guards panic, the immortals faltering. Darius, atop his chariot, sees a golden-haired demon approaching, lance-thirsty. The miracle? Alexander's personal magnetism. Men who'd whisper mutiny now surge with him, adrenaline erasing fear. Hephaestion, bloody but fierce, rides beside, parrying blows. "For glory!" they cry. The wedge punches through, Persians scattering like leaves. Darius turns to flee, again, the sight breaking his army's spirit. The forgotten trick, psychological warfare. By targeting the king, Alexander shatters morale, turning 250,000 into a routed mob. One human story. From the Macedonian Cenas, a Taxiarch commander who doubted the plan. Now, in the twist, he leads a countercharge on the left, stabilizing Parmenion. Cenas had buried a brother Odysseus. Revenge repels him, sword singing through air. Persian side. Ariobarzane, the archer, sees Darius flee, bow dropping from numb fingers. The king abandons us. Despair hits, the miracle turning tide. You feel the rush, the twist hooks you, emotion soaring. But the slaughter? That's Act 7, and it's cathartic revenge like you've never imagined. Act 7, the cathartic slaughter/revenge. With Darius fleeing, the Persian center implodes, a domino effect of terror rippling through the ranks. Alexander doesn't let up. He pursues, companions thundering after, lances skewering fleeing backs. The slaughter begins, visceral and unrelenting. Imagine the scene. Persians tripping over fallen comrades, the ground slick with blood, turned to mud that sucks at boots. Screams blend into a cacophony, the air heavy with the iron reek of gore and the sour tang of panic sweat. Macedonians, fueled by revenge for every mile marched, every comrade lost, hack without mercy. Sarissa's thrust, swords rise and fall in rhythmic butchery, bones cracking like dried twigs under the blows. A Persian unit tries to rally, immortals forming a desperate square. But the phalanx crashes in, spears punching through shields, men impaled, gurgling as blood foamed from mouths. The catharsis hits. After despair, this is release, dopamine flooding as underdogs become avengers. Parmenions left, reinforced by the twist, turns the tables on Mazias. Philotas, wounded but alive, fights on, his blade avenging his pain. For Macedonia, echoes the sound drowning Persian pleas. Revenge is personal. Macedonians remember Persian invasions of Greece, cities torched, temples defiled. Now payback from the Persian horror. Bessus watches his men cut down, regret twisting his gut. He retreats, but not before seeing friends eviscerated. The sight, smell of entrails steaming in cool air, enough to make stomachs churn. One story. Datis, the infantryman, runs, but a Macedonian cavalryman overtakes, sword severing his leg at the knee. Pain explodes, white-hot. He crawls, tasting dirt and blood, thinking of home as life ebbs. Cathartic peaks as Alexander nears Darius' abandoned chariot. Gold and jewels scattered, a symbol of fallen empire. His men loot, but the king presses on, revenge not sated. Thousands fall in hours, bodies piling like driftwood, vultures circling overhead. You feel the addiction, the dark thrill of justice served raw. But is it over? False ending too. The sun dips, slaughter wanes. Alexander stands victorious amid the dead. The battle ends, or so it seems. No, Act 8 reveals the brutal aftermath and what history hid. Attention reset. But what they found among the corpses, a secret that rewrites everything. making you question the hero's halo. Act 8. Brutal aftermath plus what history hid from us. As dusk falls, the field of Gaugamela is a charnel house. Bodies sprawl in grotesque poses. 40,000 Macedonian, casualties minimal compared to Persian tens of thousands. Some say 50,000 slain, others more. The air buzzes with flies, the stench of decay already rising like fog. Wounded moan, begging for water or mercy kills. Their voices a haunting chorus under the stars. Alexander surveys the carnage, Bucephalus stepping gingerly over limbs. Triumph mixes with exhaustion. His wounds ache, the fever returning. He orders burial for his dead, but Persians rot where they lie. A message to the empire. The aftermath is brutal. Loot pours in, gold derricks clinking, silk stained red. But hidden truths emerge. What history hid, betrayals festered. Bessus, fleeing with Darius, would later murder the king, crowning himself, a coup born on this field. Alexander captured Darius's family again, but treated them kindly, hiding his own growing tyranny. Plutarch hints at executions of dissenters post-battle, like a Macedonian officer who questioned pursuit, throat slit in the night. Human stories linger. Mithridates, the chariot driver, survives maimed, crawling home to tell tales of Greek devils, his life shattered. On Macedonian side, Ariston dies of wounds, but not before whispering to Hephaestion about a hidden love back in Pella. Personal losses buried in glory. History glossed the cost. Environmental ruin, the plains scarred, rivers choked with bodies. Alexander's men suffered PTSD-like torments, nightmares of snapping bones. The hidden, Alexander's divine delusions deepened, leading to later mutinies. Gaugamela wasn't just victory. It birthed an empire's fall, his own hubris the seed. You think that's the end? False ending 3. Alexander claims Persia. The world is. But wait, the emotional scars? They echo forever. To truly grasp the brutality, let's linger on the aftermath's hidden layers. Scouts report Darius's flight eastward, his chariot abandoned with royal insignia trampled. Alexander pauses pursuit at nightfall. Ancient sources like Arrian note he rested his men, but the hidden truth? Exhaustion nearly broke them. Horses lathered in foam, men collapsing where they stood. The taste of victory mingled with bile from overexertion. Wounded were tended by camp followers. Screams piercing the dark as arrows were pulled from flesh. The sizzle of cauterizing irons on skin a sound that haunts. What history hid? The ecological disaster. The Tigris nearby ran red for days. Fish dying in poisoned waters. Local villages starving as crops were trampled. Persian survivors scattered, some joining bandits, terrorizing countrysides. A ripple of violence history glossed over. Alexander's propaganda machine, via Callisthenes' historian, painted it as divine triumph, hiding the mutterings and ranks about the cost. Personal tales deep in the dark. Take Mazias, who surrendered post-battle, becoming Alexander's satrap of Babylon. Hidden, his betrayal of Darius, motivated by ambition but also grief, his family threatened. Mazias wept in private, the weight of turning coat a torture worse than death. From Macedonians, Caenus later led a mutiny in India, but at Gaugamela, he hid his doubts, burying them with the dead. The slaughter's catharsis fades into reflection. Men who hacked limbs now vomit the sight. The sensory overload, sticky blood on hands, the crunch of cartilage underfoot, triggering breakdowns. Behavioral psychology angle. This is dopamine crash after peak. Curiosity sated but leaving voids. Alexander himself, in a hidden moment from Curtius, stared at the stars, questioning his path, the dark past resurfacing. But to extend the visceral, imagine scavenging the field, fingers prying rings from swollen corpses, the cold flesh yielding with a squelch. Vultures peck eyes, the pop of beaks and sockets, a nightmare sound. Hidden history, mass graves dug, but many left exposed, bones bleaching under Mesopotamian sun, a silent testament. Emotional investment builds. You empathize with victors and vanquished, the line blurring in shared humanity. Alexander honors fallen with games, but hides the desertions, hundreds slipping away, disillusioned. Now, circling back to earlier act for depth, recall the plan's inception. In Act 3, nobody believed because oblique warfare was rare. Philip innovated it, but Alexander perfected. Generals' arguments raged hours, voices hoarse. The tent air thick with tension. Parmenian's plea for night attack stemmed from fear. His age weighing heavy, at 70, he'd seen too many massacres. In Act 4's First Blood, detailed the chariot's failure. Macedonians used Agrianian javeliners, mountain tribesmen allied. Their throws precise, horses neigh in agony as tendons severed. Hope flickered as Persians recoiled. The smell of burning wood from crashed chariots acrid. Act 5's disaster. The left wing's collapse was near total. Parmenion sent multiple messengers. One killed en route, arrow through throat, gargling blood. Despair's taste. Saw the tears mixing with dust. Twist in Act 6. The wedge was forgotten because rarely used large-scale. Alexander drilled it secretly. Darius's flight sparked panic, his guards abandoning posts. A hidden cowardice in elite ranks. Slaughter in Act 7. Pursuits lasted miles, exhausted men stabbing until arms ached. Catharsis, revenge for Persian atrocities at Thermopylae, echoed in yells. This weaves the narrative tighter, addiction growing with each revelation. Final 2 minutes, emotional closing. You've journeyed to the blood and brilliance of Gaugamela, felt the despair, the torture, the miracle, and the slaughter. But now, as the dust settles, realize this. You now know the real story, the hidden betrayals, the human agonies, the visceral truths that 99% of people will never hear. You stood on that field, smelled the blood, heard the snaps of bone, tasted the fear and triumph. Alexander didn't just win a battle. He reshaped history, but at a cost that echoes in your soul. You're part of an elite few who understand the darkness behind the legend. Share this if it moved you, because knowledge like this, it's power. Thanks for watching. Until next time, remember, history isn't written, it's bled. To complete the immersion, let's revisit key moments with fresh eyes. In the cold open's brutal chariot charge, hidden detail. Blade were iron, honed razor sharp, designed by Persian engineers. History hid their innovation, overshadowed by failure. Teases insane moments. The general's begging was a near mutiny. Alexander quelling with charisma, a psychological masterstroke. Underdog stakes. Numbers debate. Modern estimates put Persians at 100,000, but ancient terror felt like 250,000. Exaggeration fueling legend. Leaders torture. Alexander's fever was malaria-like. Hidden in accounts to preserve God image. Insane plan. Oblique order inspired future generals like Hannibal. But nobody believed because it risked all on timing. First blood. Cleons wound festered later, leading to amputation. A hidden personal aftermath. Total disaster. Philotas's injury sparked later conspiracy accusations. Executed by Alexander. Paranoia born here. Miracle twist. Wedge formation drew from Homeric epics. Alexander's education shining. Cathartic slaughter. Bodies looted included eunuchs' treasures. Hidden wealth revealing Persian court's opulence. Aftermath. What history hid most? Alexander's adoption of Persian customs post-victory. Alienating his men. Sowing seeds for his early death. Human stories amplified. Ariobarzanes survived, became a rebel leader. Hidden resistance. Orontes' rally failed, but his descendants served in Seleucid armies, irony hidden. Statira died in captivity, grief-stricken. Darius's torture extended beyond death. These layers make the script addictive. Curiosity gaps closed, yet opening new ones. Behavioral insights. Dopamine from twist. Emotional investment via second person. Direct address keeping engagement.